poison. I made a mistake.
When it comes to food, we all enjoy a certain level of decadence, but food to die for should never be taken literally. Here are 10 dangerous foods that can kill you. Food poisoning edition.
Don't eat it, don't eat it, don't eat it!
Home canned foods. DIY-ers beware.
Can I eat the pickle?
Well, there's a lot of salt in it, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, it is a vegetable.
Most people see canned foods as life-saving, not life-ending. However, that might not be the most accurate association. With recent shortages and skyrocketing prices, people have been forced to become extremely resourceful, finding ways to produce more and more products at home. Canning your own foods may have some appeal to those who have extra food stock they want to preserve for a later date. But before you get out your tin cans and presses, take some time to investigate. There's some risk involved. Foods canned at home are one of the leading causes of death due to botulism in the world. 80% to be exact. Canned items that you really want to look out for are vegetables canned in oil, brine and water, salted and smoked fish, cured meats, and lastly, tofu and seitan. Botulism does not often lead to death, but it will make you really sick. It can take a while for symptoms to show up to 15 days in some cases, so people mistake it for something else on occasion.
I'm well. A little tired.
So if you feel sick after eating any homemade canned foods in a 2-week time frame, you need to head to your physician to rule out botulism right away. Lentils, the plant-based menace.
I'm a vegan, of course. Slowly working towards full freaking vegan.
Nowadays, it's all about that plant-based life, and superfoods reign supreme. Lentils may be at the top of many health-conscious buyers' lists for all its healthy pros. However, you may not be aware of the cons. Lectin is the magical protein in lentils that is the source of its power, but it's that very same component that can cause you to get sick when your lentils are not properly prepared. Undercooked lentils can leave you with nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and gastrointestinal discomfort. So if you're experiencing any ill effects after switching up your diet, it may be your cooking and not the food itself. There's no need to let this deter you from joining the newest health craze. There are plenty of simple solutions to this particular problem. First of all, the recipe is your friend. Make sure to cook your lentils as instructed.
Please follow the instruction, Mr. Cleverlang.
In addition, it's also helpful to soak your lentils before you cook them. This helps to break down the lectins and make them easier to digest. This will help make sure you experience only the positive benefits of this fantastic superfood. Lectin is also present in soybeans, peanuts, and other plant-based foods. So it's best to follow the same steps you do with lentils with those foods as well. Store-bought canned goods.
Mike! I found the chocolate pudding!
Now that you're all caught up on the dangers of canning your own foods in your home, it's time for us to discuss the dangers of commercial canned goods. Store-bought cans can cause all kinds of calamity as well. When thinking about buying your canned goods at your local grocery stores, you do not have to be as worried about botulism. What causes most people to get ill from store-bought canned goods is the cans themselves. Most of the cans that you find in stores contain something called bisphenol A, or BPA for short. BPA is a chemical commonly used in most food packaging, canned or not. It does not appear to cause any issues with other packaging, but because cans tend to remain on the shelves for really long periods of time, the BPA, as time goes on, seeps into the food. BPA contamination does not result in any of the more typical illnesses associated with food poisoning, but it does seem to affect your long-term overall health. Some studies show that too much exposure to BPA can lead to male sexual dysfunction, type 2 diabetes, along with heart diseases.
I have both type 1 and 2 diabetes.
Ow!
There's no way to prepare the canned food you buy that helps decrease the amount of BPA you consume. In fact, it's now pretty clear that canned foods are the leading cause of BPA exposure. One particular study showed that subjects that ate just one serving of canned soup over a 5-day span saw the BPA levels in their urine increase 1,000%. Yikes! This is certainly an alarming statistic, but dietitians still support the consumption of canned goods in moderation. Meat.
My name's Percy. Would you like some pork?
Meat can be oh so good, but some people just can't cook it. Many of you probably have the friend that maintains that they're not vegetarian or vegan, who constantly explains, "I like meat, I just don't know how to cook it." If that's the case, then listen to that friend. Believe that friend. Do not push them. You do not need to get sick. Meat, as most people are very aware of, is one of the leading causes of food poisoning, and in most cases, illness is completely avoidable. Your raw meats, such as beef, pork, poultry, need to be handled with care. From the time it's being butchered or caught, the animals may come in contact with fecal matter or salmonella bacteria. The first step when it comes to protecting your guests and yourself from meat food poisoning is to make sure things are clean. You need to wash your hands after touching meat, along with any surfaces or utensils the meat may have come in contact with, to prevent cross-contamination. Most importantly, when it comes time to cook, make sure you do so according to the recipe or health guidelines. The temperature of the meat you're cooking is the best way to know it's well cooked.
You know what they say about tenderloin? Always a risky option. It's got to be done just right.
The CDC recommends using a cooking thermometer to ensure that your meat is safe and ready to eat. Vegetables and fruits.
That's borderline black. I wouldn't eat that if I were you. You're an idiot.
It's not a balanced diet without fruits and veggies. They give us so many of the vitamins and nutrients our bodies desperately need. You need to be careful, though. They can also pass along a lot of bugs and bacteria that, frankly, are not good for you at all. Generally, produce has to travel quite some distance before it ends up in your fridge, and as a result, it comes into contact with many different bacteria. The most common germs found when it comes to vegetable and fruit food poisoning are E. coli, salmonella, and listeria, all of which can leave you feeling very dumpy for a while. The best way to keep yourself safe from germs when preparing any produce is to make sure you wash it thoroughly before using it. You must be sure to use running water to wash away all bacteria. It's also important to cut away all the imperfections from your produce, like bruises or any other forms of damage. You should also be very mindful of cross-contamination. When you get busy in the kitchen, it's easy to sacrifice cleanliness for time, but that is way too risky a gamble.
Trust me when I say this.
It's crucial that you make sure to keep raw meat separate from all other food and to wash all cookware that comes into contact with anything that may be carrying germs. Take the extra time and extend cocktail hour a bit. Everyone's stomachs will be extremely grateful. Eggs, the hard truth.
Where's my soft-boiled egg?
I scramble it.
Eggs are a staple in the diets of many people all over the world, and for the most part, they're harmless. What most people probably do not know is the egg shell does not keep out the bacteria that causes foodborne illnesses, typically salmonella, when eggs are concerned. More often than not, the eggs we eat are cooked, so there really is no risk.
No problemo.
Items that contain raw eggs are far more problematic. Eggs may be contaminated even before the hen gets a chance to lay them if they're exposed to salmonella by an infected hen's ovaries prior to expulsion. This leads to certain foods that are made with raw eggs to come with the bacteria already inside as well. In order to avoid getting sick from things like Caesar salad dressing, mayonnaise, hollandaise, and raw dough or batters, try not to eat any that are homemade. The store-bought stuff is the safer option. It's also important to keep in mind all eggs and egg-based products need to be refrigerated when being stored. And as always, properly cook everything. Unpasteurized milk and cheese.
You guys enjoying that cheese? It's unpasteurized.
The milk that most consume comes in cartons, bags, or bottles from your local grocery store, and is really only a risk to you if you leave it out on the counter for too long. You have pasteurization to thank for that. There is still the possibility to purchase raw milk where you live, but buyer beware. The consumption of raw milk, cheeses, and other dairy products can cause a number of foodborne illnesses. Listeria, E. coli, Brucella, and Campylobacter, just to name a few, can all contaminate milk during extraction and remain until it hits your stomach. The best way for those of you who still wish to buy unprocessed milk is to pasteurize it yourself at home. It's a very simple procedure that can be done using an oven or double boiler. You just need to heat the milk to 165 degrees for about 15 seconds, and presto, your milk is safe and ready to drink.
Easy peasy.
As for raw milk products like like soft cheeses, you can make sure they do not get you or your dinner guests sick by cooking them. This will kill off anything harmful in the cheese, in addition to making it extra gooey and delicious. Seafood.
Bring me the dirtiest, greasiest tuna melt you got.
The waterways where seafood and fish are harvested from are often full of all kinds of bacteria. But that's actually a good thing. It means the water is healthy. The bacteria in the water are more often than not harmless to us as well. However, there are several germs that do cause foodborne illness in humans that you need to be aware of. Typically, Vibrio, norovirus, and an assortment of parasites come attached to the sea life we eat. In most cases, these types of foods are cooked well and you can chow down without a care in the world. The real issues arise when you eat raw fish, for example, sushi, which is very popular in just about every consumer bracket.
Nice. Here we go.
There's always a risk when eating raw fish, but for the most part, it's prepared very well when purchased at Japanese restaurants, and the fish are normally treated before they make their way to stores. The primary culprit for food poisoning among seafood and fish is the oyster. You may have indulged in an oyster bar or two in your lifetime and came away completely fine. Nonetheless, the risk remains. As you're eating this raw delicacy, you may be exposed to a bacteria that will leave you feeling rather ill. Once again, oysters now receive treatment to prevent them from being contaminated and spreading any foodborne illnesses, so the risk is way lower than it would have been in times past. Sprouts.
Ron, would you like some salad?
Since I am not a rabbit, no, I do not.
Similar to eggs, dairy, and seafood, sprouts are delicious, cooked or raw. But when you're eating anything raw, you increase your risk of getting food poisoning.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Sprouts are great to throw on salads and sandwiches as a nice little healthy boost, but it can have some pretty harsh negative health effects too. The seeds of vegetables, legumes, and fruits can be contaminated from the start, and as they grow, so do the germs. Since they are so small, even as sprouts, it's very difficult to detect any bacteria that may have grown inside them. It's always a safe bet to cook them, even slightly, before adding them to any dish you want to serve. Otherwise, it's safest for you to try to avoid them altogether. It might just help you avoid a long evening in your bathroom. Rice.
White rice, brown rice. Those are just some of the rices I love.
Rice is good for so many reasons. It's quick, easy, and versatile, and the base for so many of our favorite dishes. It may also seem to be an unlikely culprit of food poisoning, and you're right in thinking that. Rice itself does not put you at risk for food poisoning. That comes as a result of human error. Rice is very good at absorbing moisture, which makes it a perfect breeding ground for germs when stored incorrectly. Rice is a natural producer of one form of bacteria in particular, and it's called Bacillus cereus, or B. cereus for short. B. cereus produces toxins that can give you a pretty bad stomachache. Once rice has been cooked, it's important that it's stored properly in your fridge. When it's left out at room temperature, the B. cereus is given a chance to multiply, and that is when the trouble really starts. Food poisoning from B. cereus is no joke. It can lead to bouts of diarrhea from 6 to 15 hours long, and possibly even nausea and vomiting that can last from 30 minutes to 6 hours.
Long.
I think we can all agree you're better off simply placing your leftovers back in the fridge.
I'm for real.
Thanks for sticking around. We've got more videos just for you, so stay right here and check one out.